okay? So today, I'm going to go over the jerk. There's two different types of jerk that we're going to go over today. So one is called a push jerk, all right? So when we look at the jerk, we had a shoulder press, which went straight up above the head. The jerk is just a movement that allows us to use our legs to then do more weight for this exercise and develop a little bit more power. So the two that we have a push jerk, so pushing the bar up with our legs and catching it with bent knees. So we're basically going to push the bar up with our legs and then push our body under it. And then the more common one you'll see, especially in the sport of weightlifting, dip, jump, and dropping into a lunge and catching a lunge and coming back, okay? So those are the two things that we're gonna go over today. We're gonna go through just a couple of exercises just to get you kind of prepped up so we know how to be able to do those nice and controlled. We're gonna work a little bit, especially the split jerk has got some funky foot movements, all right? But that's the basis of what we're gonna go over today. So that's our third Olympic lift. In a weightlifting competition, the clean that we did last week and the jerk that we'll do today are actually combined. So if you ever see like an Olympic weightlifting meet or you watch the Olympics in Tokyo later this year, if you see weightlifting, they'll do the snatch and then they'll do a clean and jerk as like a combined thing. So that's what we're gonna cover the last class today. So three warm-up moves. So we're gonna revisit our swimmer. Some people actually found out call these handcuffs. I still like the term swimmer just because it reminds me of people doing the butterfly. But on the stomach, reaching all the way out, reaching, trying to keep those shoulder blades back and down, turning the hands up, reaching up as high between your shoulder blades as you can, and reaching all the way back out and setting them down, okay? That's gonna be number one. Second one, we've done a lot from this little 90-90 position. What we're really gonna look for here is you're gonna pick up and you're gonna come out in front and rotate down either all the way across your foot or at least next to it, right? It's kind of like a hurdler position. Reaching all the way back out, extend the knee, sit it down. And then we're gonna actually use one of our accessory exercises. We talked about the split squat. We're gonna use one of our accessory exercises with the split squat. You're just gonna take foot forward, foot back, and you're just gonna take a knee, touch it, and then come all the way back up, okay? And you're gonna do 8 of each exercise. So you're gonna have 8 swimmers, 8 of the little rotation of the hip per leg, and then 8 split squats per leg. Right, so do 8, and then switch legs to 8. We're gonna go through all that twice. So I want to go with both the snatch and the clean, right? What is it? What's our little position? What do I call it? What? Yeah, you're like, Oompa Loompa, right? So this little power position, right? We did this with a snatch, right? We started here, we did it with a clean, we started here. When we do the jerk, guess what? It starts there, right? So the only difference with the jerk and that Oompa Loompa is obviously the bar is gonna start on my shoulders, okay? So we're gonna get to a point where we have it in our front squat position, but there's 2 little things that we need to think about before we even do that, right? So up and down, right? So when we look at jerk, the jerk name comes from physics. So jerk is basically the amount of time it takes you to decelerate and reaccelerate a force in opposite directions, okay? So basically without this bar, if I were to do what we call a push jerk or a power jerk, it literally looks like Oompa Loompa up, Oompa Loompa with my hands over my head, right? Like Oompa Loompa, praise the Lord, all right? So this whole position here now, when we look at this, it's gonna be easy for some of you to do this where you literally come Oompa Loompa, up, Oompa Loompa. For some of you, you'll have to go Oompa Loompa, up on your toes, and then drop your feet out, okay? Just gonna depend. We're literally gonna start with that because we need to learn, 1, how to redirect ourselves up and down, And then once basically the bar is going to become weightless, and we'll get there, you're going to have to redirect your body down again. Okay? So all I want is 5 to 10 reps standing up wherever you're at. Come on, stand up. It looks scary, clean. It's like, all right, well, I feel like I'm going to hit myself in the throat. The jerk is complicated because there's timing, right? Like, we push the bar up, and you've got to time your body dropping underneath to catch in a good position. Obviously, what we just did gets kind of difficult because if your shoulders aren't super flexible, or you've got stiff ankles, your hips are kind of locked up, being able to push yourself into this position is not super easy. Okay? So, especially when you try to add a little bit of weight. So now, we're going to kind of use what we call a split jerk. And some of you, with the dumbbell, start to immediately just kind of go in that position where you start to split your feet out, which is good, because that's where we're going. All right? When we look at this split jerk, what we're really doing is we're going to end up dropping into a lunge position, or almost like a half split squat. Okay? So we're going to end up going up, and then we're going to drop into 1 foot forward, 1 foot back. The thing we have to consider is that we are going to need a little bit of extra stability, and we need to figure out how far forward and how far back that foot needs to move. Because if I go here, well, I'm basically still in that position where I didn't have a whole lot of stability. Okay? So, what you're going to do, and you got little lines that are kind of spread out along right where all the rubber lines up. So we're going to use the platform here just because we got a very clear-cut line. All you're going to do is go heel-toe. Now this is also a great, wait, can you say that for me? Right? I want you to face forward, eyes closed. Great. First, we have to figure out what foot you want to put forward. Okay? You know, we'll kind of talk about the difference with like the dumbbell variation. But in order to help her find out which foot she's going to go forward, she's here with her eyes closed, and we're just going to, boom, left foot. That's one way we can figure it out. Now, if you don't want to shove somebody, right, because her first reaction was to stick her right foot out. Okay? Now, without shoving somebody, and just depending on how you feel comfortable, somebody might come up and shove you, and you might stick 1 foot out. Guys, I want you to get in like a sprinting stance if you're going to take off with a sprint. Now notice, she goes to sit, and we can look at this and say her front foot, right, is her left foot, because the first thing she wants to step out is her right foot, right? So we're in that position, drop. Okay? So, you got it. Those are 2 ways to find it out. You can, if you really want to, like if you're like, hey, I want to shove my buddy's okay with me shoving them, right? So you can do the eyes closed. That way you can't really tell when the shove is coming. When we get to this position, all you're going to do, toes in the line, whatever foot you like going forward is going to stay on the line. And you're going to take your other foot and you're going to go heel toe. Then you're going to take the other foot and you're going to go right mid-foot here. Alright, so now I kind of have a gauge as to where that foot's going to go. You can use a plate to put next to it if you really want. Or it's like, alright, hey, I kind of know, like you have a cell phone, you put your cell phone on the ground. Alright, but I know that roughly my front foot is going to go right about there. Okay? Then I can come back. Right, and we're just going to, there's this little like weird white speck, and we're just going to put that right there, because that's where my toe was. Okay? Then, you do the same thing with your back foot. So then also I leave my back foot. So I got like my right foot forward. I put that there. So now I'm going to go right foot, heel toe. And then I'm going to take this foot. Same thing. Right? Mid-foot. I'm going to use the watch on this one. Just throw a little risk in there so it doesn't step on my watch. Alright? So, roughly, the ball of my foot is going to hit close to where my watch is. That's going to be kind of our goal here. So we have our little white speck. So now, when you go up in, you got a little Oompa Loompa, up on the toes, split, smash the watch, right? Look where my front foot is. Right? Right in front of my little speck. That's our goal. It's okay, it'll live. It's been through worse. So, that's kind of the goal. I say, I've got some tape in my bag so we can use little pieces of tape if you really want to get precise with it. But we don't have to, you can just get kind of close. Knowing, up, drop. Real close with a little piece of tape. Kind of in line with my watch there. Alright? Now notice the thing with my feet here. I am not in line. I'm not here. I've got some width here. Because we need to have some stability side to side. Now here's the other thing. Notice how my toe points in? And my back toe points in a little bit. This allows me to be really stable. This foot right here, anchored in the floor. So all you're doing, up, drop. Right? And I shortened it up a little bit because now here's what we're going to do. Front foot back to the middle, back foot back to the middle. Right? Then we can go in that position, tip toes, drop, front foot back foot forward. Up, drop, front foot back foot forward. Okay? Remember how we talked about like our hip extension, our hip flexion, and everything like that at the very beginning of the semester? Right? We don't want to go up and then stand here. Why? Because I'm constantly just pulling my hip in the hip extension on one side. Then you start to create some weird imbalances, right? So, fun little story. I did that about 10,000 times on my left leg. I used to do this leg forward. I can't anymore because I can do it here with just body weight. Because my tendency was to go here. So then one day I was in the gym doing an exercise and all of a sudden I feel this weird like sensation. Somebody sticks like 4 fingers in my hip and like picks like a guitar, right? Pop, 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 pop. And then you're walking around and kind of pulling your leg into your car and you're stepping upstairs and you grab your leg behind you, right? Because if we constantly pull here, then we start to create some imbalances. But if I'm up, front foot back foot forward, I don't create as much of the need for that hip extension. I get a little bit of knee extension, a little bit of hip extension, and I get a little bit of that knee extension, hip extension here. Okay? So, up, front foot back foot forward. Right? Then we go to the Oompa Loompa. Up, drop, front foot, back foot. Do it without a bar. Do it without. This helps, especially for those of you that have a little bit of like the shoulder, like immobility. When we go here, right, we dip. Notice the position, right? That bar should be right over my hips and my heels. Right? So I'm not sinking back here. Literally, upper body is stacked up. So we push, pull the head back a little bit. Because then you're going to reverse that motion when you drop into your split and punch it forward. Okay? So we dip, we push up, drop, we punch the head forward between the hands. Okay? Front to back to forward. Here's the other thing with the front back forward kind of thing. Okay? That little pattern, when we're here, right? Well, if I go up, drop, well, if I push backwards, I'm pushing that weight backwards, it's just locking into my shoulders. Right? Whereas if I went forward, I'm now pushing it into open space where my shoulders want to go. Okay? So, we dip, up, drop, front foot back foot forward. Okay? And this is where, if you're doing a dumbbell variation, so if you got the dumbbell, some of you already kind of figured this out. Go one hand and switch which leg you got, right? Because that way, when we look at this, then we start to look at core, and we start tying in your oblique a little bit more. Where if you go here, now all of a sudden I want to go opposite leg. So up, drop. That way this starts to open up a little bit more. Back foot. Then if I go to my other hand, dip, back foot, forward. Okay? Yeah. So if you're using that dumbbell variation, you're just going to have to switch your leg. Okay? I want 3